My name's Louise. So the reason that I first came to House of Ikigai was I'd been to a different clinic. I hadn't had a very good experience there. I knew that I wanted some kind of treatments done. I knew that I wanted to feel a bit better about how I looked. And actually I got a recommendation to come to House of Ikigai, and it was a friend of a friend. So I thought I'd probably have a much better experience going off a recommendation. So originally I'd had my lips done somewhere else. I'd had lip fillers, and the experience itself was very uncomfortable. I felt very much like I was on a bit of a conveyor belt, that they essentially just wanted to get me in and out as quick as possible. The actual procedure itself had been pretty painful, so it kind of put me off a little bit. But at the same time, I've always been like quite self-conscious that I had a very small top lip. So I was kind of out of proportion. I'd asked about a few other treatments at that clinic, and it felt like they were doing quite an upsell. So that really put me off. So when my friend of a friend recommended House of Ikigai, I thought, it sounds like such, first of all, Kevin is an expert in what he does. He's very approachable. He's a really great listener. And he really treats you like an individual as well. When you come here, it's like a warm welcome every time. It's lovely. Funny, because what he said to me when he sat me down, he said he's really good at like reading your face. And he sat me down and he was like, look, what you want to do is draw attention to your best features and minimize the features that are maybe like a bit out of sync. So I had a very kind of narrow, very long face with quite a small top lip, and he really just helped to bring balance to my face, so that it means that people are looking at my eyes instead of being distracted by anything else that's going on. I read this question before, and I would say, fine, don't have big lips. So when people say, I want to age gracefully, or you need to age gracefully, I think there's a little bit of an underlying kind of judgment there from those people that somehow by having any kind of treatments that you're not aging gracefully. But if you actually think about the meaning of the word graceful, it means with beauty, with a kind of gentleness to it. And that's exactly what you get from having treatments at House of Ikigai. It's subtle, but it's the subtle tweaks that help you look your best as the years pass. So I actually love when people say, oh, I would never get treatments done, because I think people just assume that I haven't had anything done, and that's why they're having that conversation with me. I think people have this idea that you can tell instantly. I've had people say to me, oh, I can tell every time someone's had their lips done, like I can see them a mile off. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, can you? That's really funny. And then I go, oh, do you know anyone who's had it done? And they're like, yeah, there's this one person and her lips are out to here and all this. And I'm like, And then I just let them talk. And then I'm like, actually, I've had my lips done. And I've actually had my cheeks done too. And they go, and they like look at your face. And it's just quite nice to kind of address that preconception people have. And then actually those people, half of the time they go, can I have the number of where you go to? And I'm like, absolutely. So I've spent my entire adult life really not liking how I look. And it almost gets in the way. It's when it's something you think about all the time, it stops you from really living and really being in the moment. I did get bullied quite badly when I was at school about how I looked as well. And I know that shouldn't matter, but it's sometimes these things just stay with you. And for me, coming to House of Ikigai has meant that I've had a kind of holistic treatment, and that it's almost made me think less about how I look, which sounds like a bit of a contradiction, but it means that I can feel good going into situations. I feel confident. And I feel like it's one less thing to think about, really. The other thing is, as women and some men, we put makeup on. So I just kind of see it as a bit of an extension of that. Obviously, you want to make sure you're going to someone like Kevin who really knows the anatomy of the human face, because there are risks, so you need to go to an expert. But if we're putting makeup on or we're putting nice clothes on, then why wouldn't you also have a treatment to make you feel better, and means that you get up in the morning and you just get on with life? So the times where I really notice that I've had my treatments with House of Ikigai are when I'm working, because I do a lot of video calls. I'm on video calls most of the day, and I think most people would admit you kind of can see yourself, so your eyes are quite often going over, and just to kind of be like focused in the moment. I'm like, oh, I look fine. For me, like, looking fine is all I want. I don't have any ideals about being like a supermodel or anything like that. But to just be like, okay, yeah, I'm not distracted basically by feeling self-conscious. So in terms of the consultation process here, it's really quite a fun process, and it's quite fascinating as well, because Kevin is so knowledgeable about anatomy and about how the different treatments work. You can literally ask anything. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can get really in-depth information. And he does this amazing thing where you come in and you sit down, and he kind of takes a moment to take you in, and he doesn't just look at you as body parts. It's not lips, eyes, forehead, whatever. He looks at you as a whole person. It's a very holistic approach. And that means that he can give these recommendations that are really personalized to you. So I know when I first came in, I said, I want my lips done. And I'm sure a million people do that when they go to clinics. And he said, whoa, like, let's just take a minute. Let's just have a conversation. And the thing that he does as well, because he has this conversation with you, he's not just taking you in as a two-dimensional kind of one-size-fits-all person. He's actually seeing you as a three-dimensional. How do you talk? How do you gesticulate? How do you express your emotions in your face, so that when he does the treatments, he can retain that element that makes you unique and makes you you. I would definitely recommend House of Ikigai. In fact, I have recommended it to a lot of people. It's one of those things that is kind of difficult, because you don't want to say to someone, have you thought about Botox? Have you thought about filler? But when things do come up in conversation, I'm like, this is a great opportunity to recommend somewhere that I fully trust. There's so many clinics out there that are in it for the wrong reasons, I think. And they won't have your best interests at heart. So the people that I know, I want to make sure they have the best experience, and that's why I always recommend House of Ikigai. So the three words that I would use to describe House of Ikigai are expert, welcoming, non-judgmental. I think the way that women are portrayed in the media sets unrealistic expectations of how a woman looks, particularly through social media. Obviously there's filters, things like that, but even like in movies and things, they'll literally frame by frame touch up how the actors and the actresses look. So it gives you this unrealistic idea of what you should look like. And then that gets doubly hard once you start to age. Like, I'm a woman I'm going to turn 40 this year, and to have had kind of 20 years of feeling self-conscious about my bone structure and my proportions, to now on top of that have wrinkles and aging concerns. But I think the thing that Kevin does that's really good is he emphasizes, you want to look good for you. You want to look like the best version of yourself. And also to be realistic about, just because this one famous person has these massive lips doesn't mean they're going to look good on your face. So that's why he's a really trusted person for me to advise about what's going to look good. He brings that objectivity to it. The vibe at House of Ikigai is always super chilled, very welcoming. There's no like time pressure, so I actually love just coming in for a chat. And we'll talk and talk, and then it's like, oh yeah, I better get my treatments done now because I have to go. But it's just a lovely feeling. You always leave feeling kind of it's a lot more than skin deep. It's you leave feeling quite good about the world, I think. It's a really nice experience. The aftercare at House of Ikigai is incredible. Kevin is amazing at being in touch. He will proactively get in touch with you to check how you are, but also there's been times where after a treatment I've felt I'm a little bit swollen, or I feel a little bit kind of asymmetrical, lopsided, and he's always been there to answer the phone or to call me back and say, this is completely normal. So he really puts my mind at ease afterwards as well. It's not a case of, once you're out the door, you're gone. Like, they don't want to hear from you. You're very much, I'd say, if you want to be, you can very much be a client for life of House of Ikigai. The treatment process itself was surprisingly not painful at all. My expectations were that it was going to be quite painful, so I was very surprised when I was able to have lip fillers, cheek fillers, and I've had a little bit of Botox as well, with zero pain, zero discomfort. And I think a big part of that is the time that Kevin takes. It's never rushed, and he takes the time to make sure you're fully comfortable, that you're feeling okay. There's also the element of he makes sure that you've had something to eat before, and yeah, it's. But I can't really think of what it is. It's great. I think a part of it is genetic. To be honest, my mum looks really good for her age. There's genetics, skincare, and then there's treatments. And I think those three things combined are what helps me to kind of look fresh. People do tend to say that I look good for my age. I've had people in their 20s say, I thought you were the same age as me. And I'm like, seriously? Which is very flattering. But yeah, I think it's just a case of like, it's taking care of yourself. It's your diet, your lifestyle, but also everyone ages, everyone gets wrinkles. And I'm not afraid of aging. I think aging is a privilege, but I do want to look fresh. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to look prematurely aged. And that's where House of Ikigai helps. Overall, I'm incredibly happy with the results, and I'm going to keep coming back for as long as I can.